Hello, and welcome to Come Play With Us, a spooky storytelling podcast. My name is Leela, and I'm joined by my evil twin,
Ruby. We're actually both the evil twin. We're both writers with non-writer day jobs. We believe in the power of great storytelling, so we've invited guests with the challenge of weaving a tale about real-life hauntings and paranormal activities with the sole purpose of scaring the shit out of us.
We'll rate them to see how they've done. Our ratings go a little something like this: scared shitless, some chills, and I think I'll be able to sleep tonight. Hi, everyone. So today we are joined by my good friend and frequent guest, Stephanie.
Hello. Good to be back.
Wait. And today Stephanie's gonna try and scare us. And I don't know too much. You just gave me a little hint so I would know what's coming. But feel free to kick it off.
Well, should we talk about? Oh, I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
Oh God, one of these days we're gonna get used to this. But yes, my room is darkened. I have the curtains pulled. I do have a light on.
No, it's not darkened. I see the lamp on. Your face
I'll
is
turn my light off.
fully illuminated.
I'll do it.
I've got an artificial candle. It's underneath my chin. My face looks so skeletal.
Even though you're not the one telling the story.
Oh, that's true. Okay, I should put this away then. I've got it right here. I still look skeletal in the darkness. My room is fully dark. The curtains are shut. My apartment gets extremely dark when I pull all the curtains shut, pull down all the shades. I've got this spooky red light here.
Looks
to
like
kind of
a
add,
seance.
huh?
Looks like a seance.
Yeah, it's basically seance red lighting. I've got some artificial candles on. Don't want to burn the place down. I'm already a little spooked because I'm just thinking about a story I told not too long ago to Stephanie and Leela, and I'm thinking about it still, and I'm actually a little scared shitless of my own story.
It's funny that you say you don't want to burn the place down, because that segues right in.
Okay.
To the story of the crying boy.
Ooh.
So, what could be creepier than a pile of cursed paintings, nearly 2,500 of them, desperately set ablaze in a massive bonfire on Halloween night? That's where this story ends, sort of. So recently I was in an antique shop in Ohio. Antiquing is my new favorite hobby, and I've gotten some great stuff. What I look for in particular is art, but I'm cautious about it. A photo from 1902 of 3 kittens? Sign me up. A framed photo of a group of people in Victorian clothing, as I saw in Ohio, with a tag reading, in quotation marks, "adopt a family"? No, thank you. To me, that was the store basically admitting this family would haunt your house if you dared to make that purchase. So I have taken plenty of photos on my phone in plenty of antique shops all over the U.S. Whenever I travel, it's my new favorite thing to do. I'm like, must find antique shop of paintings or dolls or ceramic figurines that look objectively cursed, but I've never taken any of them home. The same cannot be said.
Just kind of toeing the line, right? You're getting the thrill.
It's not, old cat photos, some good,
Yeah.
Just some, but not something that looks like it's actively going to haunt my house,
Yeah.
But the same cannot be said for over 50,000 people in the UK who in the 1950s were all compelled to buy prints from an artist named Giovanni Bragolin. Many of them paid the price. Giovanni Bragolin was the pen name of or artist name, whatever you want to, brush name, of a Spanish painter, Bruno Amadio, who lived from 1911 to 1981. In the 50s, he made a series of paintings of children crying. In each painting, either referred to as the crying boy or the crying girl, depending, a young child wearing slightly tattered clothes and somber colors stares out of the frame, fat tears running down their cheeks. The paintings were meant to pay tribute to children who had been orphaned in the UK during World War II. Perhaps it's this undoubtedly noble sentiment that made the prints of these works, and one crying boy in particular, fly off the shelves. Over 4 decades later, in September 1985, British couple Ron and Mary Hall lost their home to a fire caused by a cooking accident. Tragic, but seemingly innocuous, until it was revealed that in the charred ruins of their home, only one item remained untouched: their print of the crying boy. The Sun, a popular British newspaper, ran the story, which quoted Ron's brother, Peter Hall. Peter was a fireman, and he revealed that this wasn't the first time that this had happened. He'd witnessed numerous fires where everything except the crying boy was destroyed. Alan Wilkinson, another firefighter, insisted that the fires were the result of carelessness, not the supernatural. But even he was forced to admit that since 1973, he had experienced more than 50 crying boy fires. The article caused an instant uproar, with hundreds of people reaching out within 24 hours to share their own fiery experiences with the print, and more fires occurred in the immediate aftermath. Some examples include the Perillo Pizza Palace in Norfolk, which was gutted by fire on October 21st, 1985, all except the crying boy, which was still in perfect condition. 3 days later, in South Yorkshire, the Godber family's home burned to the ground in an unexplained fire. The crying boy had been on display in their living room. It was absolutely fine, even though the pictures that had been hung on either side of it were destroyed. Only a day after that, in Maryside, a gas explosion destroyed a house of the Amos family, but not a pair of crying boy paintings, which were hung in the living room and dining room, respectively. With the UK in a panic, the editor of The Sun, Kevin Mackenzie, told readers to send in their copies of The Crying Boy, and on Halloween night, 1985, the paper burned more than 2,500 of the prints in a massive bonfire that allegedly took 3 tries to alight. Some claim there's a natural explanation. In 2010, British writer and comedian Steve Punt investigated the curse for his radio show, Punt PI, by testing the print at the Building Research Establishment. He concluded that the prints had been treated with a varnish that contained fire retardant, and since the string holding the print to the wall would be the first thing to burn, the print would land face down on the floor, thus protecting it. An interesting theory, but surely not every owner of the print had hung it in the exact same way on a string, and fire retardant does not mean fireproof. How is the print of the crying boy able to survive a gas explosion, but not the Sun's bonfire? Perhaps more hauntingly, why did so many homes featuring the painting burn? So I mentioned earlier that over 50,000 prints of the crying boy were initially sold, which means that even after the bonfire, plenty of them were still out there. In November of 1985, Malcolm Vaughan, a resident of Gloucestershire, helped a neighbor destroy their copy of the print. When he returned to his house, he found his own living room burning. Firefighters were never able to pinpoint the cause. A month later, retiree William Armitage of Avon died in a mysterious house fire. The crying boy was found not lying intact beside his charred remains. One of the firemen who responded to the emergency was later quoted as saying, "I've never believed in the jinx up until now, but when you actually come across a picture in a gutted room and it's literally the only thing that hasn't been touched, it is most odd." But that still doesn't bring us to 50,000. So if you go antiquing today, you can still find and purchase prints of the crying boy. Personally, though, I would not risk it.
Oh, man. I'm going to Google this picture.
Well, yes, we need to see it. Well, I want to know, who was the crying boy? Do we know who he was?
Well, it's a couple different ones, and it was supposed to be like a tribute to children who had been orphaned during World War II.
Which already, I always say that, like, and I've said this in other episodes before, that like horror and hauntings always come from a very sad source. And they come from sadness and, misfortune. And to me, it already bugs me. Say what you will about the artist, but it bugs me that he commercialized an image of children who were suffering. And call me callous, but people were buying images of a child suffering.
A lot of people were buying them.
And hanging them in their, and I'm like, I wouldn't want to do that. Like, I would not want an image of, and I think for me personally, if I see a child even pout, I'm like in tears. It's just anything that involves sad children.
It's a sad
it breaks my heart.
Did you look it up? Did you look it up, Ruby?
No, I don't want to look it up.
No, it's just it's like, okay. So first off, okay, so I'll describe it for people, and obviously we'll link to it as well. But it's just the head. It's just
Aww.
the head of a little boy, maybe 3 or 4 years old, pouting and big fat tears on his face, and he's wearing like a very plain top, like, and it's just that, and there's no sort of, there's nothing, it's not embellished. It's just from the chest of up of a close up of a little boy crying. So first off, that's already really sad. Why do 50,000 people have this in their homes? It's not what I would pick. I would definitely pick a cursed picture of 3 kittens playing with a ball of yarn. I wouldn't ever look at this painting and go,
that kitten photo better not be cursed, because I did buy that. I do own that.
Okay.
You'll be cursed with like phantom kitties running around, and
that's fine.
I guess that I don't mind, right?
causing
I would
so
love
much
that.
ruckus.
That's fine, because our live ones do it, and we just love them all the same. But I just have to, I just have to look at the people who saw that picture and thought that's going to look really nice on the wall. That's not depressing at all. I don't know. So I'm not saying that anyone deserved to get burned up, but just why do you have this painting? It is so sad. It's such a sad.
Well, also it's like, so I want to know like about the children, but then I also want to know like what happened to this artist. Like he seems to have died before all this stuff happened.
Well, so he passed away in,
It was like 81 or something, or right?
Yeah, 81. So before this really, so when people were calling into the Sun, they were saying that this had happened prior to that, but it became national news and it became like really prominent.
And how did he die?
I do not know. I do not think it was, I don't think it was in a fire.
Okay.
I feel like that would have been mentioned.
Yeah.
But he might not have had any in his own home.
It's almost like whatever is attached to this painting, it's not punishing the artist. It's punishing those who, you know, fed into this.
So you feel like it's punishing people who thought this was great art and are treating it flippantly.
Punishing people who enabled the artist rather than the artist himself.
He seems to have died before all this stuff kicked off.
No. Remember there was some that happened like in the 70s that Stephanie said.
Yeah, it wasn't like well known. It was just something that like firefighters were noticing. And in 1985 was the newspaper article when it just really kind of took the country by storm. Like, can you imagine that bonfire? Can you imagine going to that bonfire?
There was a part of me that was feeling a little skeptical, like, come on, like, what is this painting going to do? And I even thought to myself, you know, I mentioned to you before when I told you the story of the haunted Elsa doll that I looked for one because I was like, I want to own one. So I thought to myself, you know what, if I find a haunted boy painting, like a haunted boy, oh my gosh, if I find a crying boy painting, like whatever, I'm going to just get it. But then you told me about the charred body. Because I hadn't heard yet if anyone died in these fires. And that was the first time I heard that someone had died. And I was like, oh, it's not just causing misfortune, it's causing death. And then I was like, I don't think I'm going to play around with that at all. I'll just burn one if I see it.
It does seem to be one, like some people just lost their homes, some people lost their lives. Like it's...
So there were people that lost their lives. So aside from the one who they found the body.
Yes, because people had written in, they didn't write down the exact dates in the sources I was looking up, but it was people who had written to the Sun and said, my sister died because she had this painting in her house, you know. Or in a fire. My sister died in a fire and the painting did not burn.
Okay.
Yeah, I think for me it's also that you really got me with the charred corpse with the painting.
The charred corpse got me. When you said charred corpse, you had me at charred corpse.
Yeah.
And crying boy beside said charred corpse.
Okay, well,
that's your merch. You had me at charred corpse. You make me baseball caps.
Put it on a keychain.
Charred corpse. Okay, so so just a recap of our ratings. The lowest rating is, I think I'll be able to sleep tonight. The highest rating is, I think I'll be able to sleep tonight. The lowest rating is, I think I'll be able to sleep tonight. The highest rating is, I think I'll be able to sleep tonight. The lowest rating is, I think I'll be able to sleep tonight. The lowest rating is, I think I'll be able to sleep tonight. The lowest rating is, I think I'll be able to sleep tonight. The lowest rating is, I think I'll be able to sleep tonight. The lowest rating is, I think I'll be able to sleep tonight. The lowest rating is, I think I'll be able to sleep tonight. The lowest rating is, I think I'll be able to sleep tonight. The lowest rating is, I think I'll be able to sleep tonight. The lowest rating is, I think I'll be able to sleep tonight. The lowest rating is, I think I'll be able to sleep tonight. The lowest rating is, I think I'll be able to sleep tonight. The lowest rating is, I think I'll be able to sleep tonight. The lowest rating is, I think I'll be able to The medium rating is some chills. And the highest rating, scariest rating is scared shitless. And you had me in the first half with some chills. I was like, okay, paintings, burning, okay, fires. That charred corpse just elevated it for me. That charred corpse took it to scared shitless for me. That freaked me out. The imagery, or however my brain conjured up that imagery, freaked me out. And then I have to say, I think then looking at the actual picture, I don't know, that it's all so incredibly odd and unsettling that kind of painting, looking at that painting, that's what it would cause. If it was, maybe a boy crying from far away or something, or a vase with tulips, okay, that's weird. But it's the little boy's face. It's just so haunting. So you got a scared shitless from me.
I will say that, yes, initially with the story, I was like, okay, some chills. Okay. You also got me with charred corpse. That needs to be on a t-shirt. I'm so sorry, because someone legitimately lost their life. But that's where my mouth dropped open, because I kept thinking, we hear about spirits kind of being, angry, or they're harmless or something. You'll have something bad happen, but you don't lose your life. It was when people started losing their lives is where, yeah, it got me. And I agree with Leela. When I looked at the picture, you wouldn't think it doesn't look like it's going to be a haunted photo. Leela turned the lights on because she got scared. It doesn't look haunted.
It's not something I would want in my house, though, personally. Like, it's just...
No. And that's the thing, is like, it doesn't look, to me, it doesn't look haunted. And that's exactly, and I think, again, to tie back to the haunted Elsa doll story, is it's something that you wouldn't expect to be haunted or expect to be malevolent, because it's a really cute little child, and it's painted with...
But it's sad.
It's
and
sad.
I don't know, there's a heaviness around it. You can feel a heaviness. As soon as I looked at that painting, I was definitely taken aback. It was not what I was expecting.
I thought it was going to be all like these dark, muted colors. But no, it's a little bit brighter. But it is sad. And it is very, you can feel the emotion. It's very vivid, which I can see why people are drawn to it, which I still question why, because it's so vivid. And that got me to scared shitless. What got me to scared shitless was the fact that I was like, oh, maybe I'll get one too. And then when you mentioned, again, the charred corpse, I was like, the fact that I seek out haunted objects. I don't know, I could probably get in trouble for this, but we were in Greece last week, Todd and I, and we walked through an ancient cemetery, and I picked up a rock and I took it home. And Todd was so mad at me. He's like,
asking for it.
He's like, you're asking. He's like, you're going to anger the spirits. And I said, but I want to bring a part of ancient history back with me. It's a rock. He's like, it could have come from someone's tombstone. I'm like, well, let's see what happens. Like, that's the kind of person I am. Like,
a finger bone.
It's definitely not a finger bone.
Like, it's scary stories to tell in the dark.
I was going to say, scary stories to tell in the dark.
The toe, the big toe.
No,
yeah.
Listen, I love walking around antique stores. It's so fun, and I take all these pictures of the ones. But if there is something that I'm like, no, bad vibes, like, I'm not bringing that in my house.
What are some of the things? Okay, so like, because you've been really into antiquing, and I know you basically, anywhere you go, you're like, okay, antique store now. What are some of the really creepy things that you've seen that you were just like,
I mean,
nope.
that Adopt-A Family was horrifying. Mm-hmm. It's just like stuff that looks, you know how like toys from like the 70s, or I mean, we were just talking about haunted toys, are just so odd looking. I can pull some photos up on my phone, but like there'll be like Santa Clauses that are like, wow, this Santa would murder you if you were naughty. You know what I mean? Like,
it's like Christmas Bloody Christmas, that movie.
Yeah.
And okay, I have a whole like album on my phone. Like, look at this doll.
Look. Oh my!
That's
for $25. Like, I'm
actually,
sorry,
no, I do actually kind of want that though.
How many
I
dollars?
do not want this.
Ooh. No, now I actually do kind of want that.
It's wearing like a little red.
Okay, so you're showing me things that I want.
Okay, so hold on. The first picture that I'm going to describe it. The first picture Stephanie showed us was this very pale, dark-haired doll, very spindly, wearing a puffy red coat and just looking very suspicious. And then the second one is a Thomas the Tank Engine, but it's
horrifying.
The eyes are too much.
A rusted blood color. Okay, this looks like a voodoo doll.
Okay, yeah, it's horrifying.
The head is rectangular. The eyes are misshapen. It has no other features on his face but two misshapen unmatched button eyes. The head is like a cylindrical rectangular. It has no other body features. It is wearing a gold embroidered.
$32 to be cursed forever.
So that's the thing, is like, I actually want these. I feel like I'm going to end up, like, when we go and get a house, I'm going to have a room full of, I'm going to go antiquing with you. And I'm going to just go.
You're going to have an Ed and Lorraine
We will go in separate cars, so I'm not driving, so nothing attaches itself that you bought.
But that's the thing, is like, you never see that. So that's what's so creepy to me about how you go antiquing, is you never know if you're going to bring something home that has something attached to it. You're guaranteed
when I was in my late teens and Ruby and I still lived in Texas, there was an estate sale, and we had a friend who was just like really into estate sales, and she would always take us or tell us about them. And she would get so much cool stuff. And so we were like, okay, we need to check one out. So we went, and there was this woman there, and she had like all these like handbags and like elaborate dresses and stuff. And she had these red kitten heels. And I just thought they were lovely. And they were nice on the outside, and the inside, like, they had been worn, it was kind of scuffed on the inside. I was like, whatever. Still have some of the pocketbooks I got from this estate sale. But I remember I went home, and my mom said, well, I want to see all the stuff that you got. And I was kind of showing her the pocketbooks and stuff. And then I showed her the shoes. And I just remember she got so disturbed by the shoes. And she just looked at me and she said, you're going to wear a dead woman's shoes? And she put me off those shoes. I couldn't wear them. I was just so, I don't know what it was. It's like she either hexed them, or I just didn't want to now wear a dead woman's shoes. So I ended up just giving them away and putting them, donating them. But there was just, I think, objects that have passed many hands. I don't know. There's just, especially some of the crap you just showed us right now that looks so haunted.
Yeah, I want those. But I will say, when I was in Greece, the same cemetery where I took a rock, it had like a little museum, like a small one. And there were all these little objects and stuff. And then there was one, it was a curse box. It was a box with a little figurine that's inside of it. And a curse was sealed in this box. And they had found it, during their excavations. And I actually took a picture of it. And Todd was like, oh my God. He's like, I don't want that thing near me. But I went and took a picture of it.
Definitely. So it's a little oval box. Looks like it's kind of made of stone.
Looks like a seashell or something.
Yeah. It looks like a seashell with hinges attached to it. And then the object inside looks like a little toy soldier or toy man or a finger.
Little
I don't know.
Toy person.
Like a toy person.
But I said to Todd, well, what happened to the person who opened this box?
That's them inside of it.
The curse, from what I remember, the curse was specifically towards a person. So it wasn't like if you open it, you get the curse. It's not like the movie The Mummy, but this might be a likeness of the person.
That's what I was saying. What if you receive it, you don't know what it's inside, your curse is inside, when you open it, it's that.
Oh, wait.
It could be like a lion.
I just remembered
a lion.
Oh, I just remembered something, that this wasn't attached to the museum. It was actually the archaeology museum there. And they had this entire, it almost felt like a floor where they had excavated all these graves. So it was all these findings from these graves. And I'm like, why didn't you just leave them with the graves? You disturbed. Mm-hmm. It was jewelry. It was this little curse box. I mean, yeah.
Have you seen the new Hellraiser that was on Hulu, Stephanie?
I have not.
I liked that one.
I liked it. I was really disturbed. But, it's the same conceit as all the other Hellraisers, where it's this puzzle box. And these damn people in this movie see the puzzle and they start cranking it away. And like, unless someone said, hey, here's a fun toy. Here, do you want, I'd be like, okay. But if I just found it lying there, or in, I wouldn't, the music
We say that.
And I start...
We say that though, but I think the second it cut my finger, it cut my finger, I wouldn't play with it again.
Well, when it cuts your finger, that's your death sentence. It collected your blood. You're done.
I
It doesn't
think
come
we
get
all
the
say that, but we all know we play
Cenobites are
with
gonna
it.
come get you.
So
No, I
Todd's
feel like
no.
post-pandemic, I'm more worried about stuff like that. Not necessarily because of haunting, but I'm like, ew,
It's dirty.
I don't want to touch things. I don't want to touch things.
Well, I'm glad that the pandemic is made us safer from hauntings because we are grossed out by things.
We don't want to touch
Here, let me show you
Cenobite
one more
puzzle
that I actually
boxes.
have in the house
Show.
before we. So speaking of good antique finds that are not haunted, because I've had this for about 10 years. 10 years ago, I went to London and I went to Portobello Road and I was looking through old photos and I was kind of looking for weird photos and I found this one from 1902, a postcard of someone's cat. And on the back it just says, as promised, here's a photo of our cat.
Back then, people
What
were sharing
year?
their cat photos back then.
People have always been people, and I love it. So yes, then I also found one with 3 kittens that I'm also gonna hang up, and yeah, I just want our
Love it.
kittens to
It was
be
a
happy.
cat meme.
Yes, the first cat meme.
Yeah. Thank you, Stephanie, so much for scaring us.
Yeah.
And we love having you on the show. And we'll link out to some of the things we're talking about, such as the picture of the crying boy. But yeah,
Ooh.
thanks so much.
I'm like already
Yeah.
scared that we're gonna now show people this image that's like murderous.
Our podcast's gonna burn down.
I feel
I
like
think as long as you don't hang it in your home.
Yeah.
Don't look it up and print it out and then they were displaced, right? Like orphans, you're displacing the people who.
Yeah. I didn't think of that way, but you are right.
Yeah.
Full circle.
Wow. Yeah. Well, thank you so much, Stephanie.
Thank you.
Thanks for having me on. I'm sure we'll be doing this again.
We will.
Bye, guys.
Thanks so much for listening. If you'd like to get in touch, you can reach us at podcomplaywithus@gmail.com.
We'd love to hear from our listeners. So if you have real life ghost stories or paranormal encounters and you think it'll scare the shit out of us, please send them in. Until next time, goodbye.
Bye.